Authorities in Singapore are taking steps to ensure that social media services like Facebook and TikTok take down harmful online content. It's to make the internet safer, especially for the young, protecting them from sexual, violent and self-harm content. Now, under the new proposed codes of practice, social media services with a higher reach will need to have wide-ranging processes to enhance online safety. Now, these include tools so as to reduce exposure and more accessible reporting mechanisms. Companies may also have to submit a yearly report on its effectiveness. Another code will empower the authorities to direct any social media service to remove specified types of egregious content. Well, Rebecca Mateo joins us now to tell us more about this all. Rebecca, I'm curious, what was it a specific trend, a specific incident that sparked the need for these new codes of practice to regulate online harms now?
The prevalence is already a major concern, and it's made worse when it's amplified on social media. So we remember two incidents from last year, a poll asking people to rank female religious teachers based on their sexual attractiveness, and also another one, a man posting multiple racially offensive comments targeting minority groups. So these are just some examples, and a survey that was done by a Sunlight AFA, Alliance for Action, an agency tasked to tackle online harms, show that 1 in 2 Singaporeans have actually gone through some form of online harms personally, and 61% of them actually experience some kind of online harms that are gender-based. And these are just some examples of how it's getting more on the social media.
Just help me understand what's already out there in terms of what the social media companies are already doing to protect users. What's the ecosystem like now?
Right now, actually, many of the social media companies already have their own reporting channels, so it can be very simple. They can just click if they see that the content is offensive or it contains violence or sexual depictions. They can click, and it will also help direct users to block or even restrict certain posts from certain accounts. And I think Facebook, Instagram and TikTok have this kind of channels, and it's relatively easy to access. And I spoke to Instagram. They shared that the platforms now actually actively remove violent or self-harm materials even before it's being reported. So what it hopes to do is that they can regulate the content first even before it reaches the users. And it wants to do more, especially for the younger people online.
One is that we have been progressively rolling out parent and guardian supervision tools on Instagram around the world. And we're looking forward to bringing this to Singapore in the coming months. I think as part of that, we also want to make sure that we are factoring in how young people in Singapore, how parents and caregivers feel about their social media experiences, and how best we can support them in managing this together with Meta.
Well, Rebecca, I mean, as a parent, I'm hyper aware of the harms and the potential dangers out there. But is there a precedence for this kind of codes and best practices that we benchmark? For example, what are other countries doing?
Actually, Singapore is not the first to embark on such codes of practice or even legislation. So Germany and Australia have already legislation to protect their users online, and the United Kingdom and European Union are also looking at new laws that will tackle harmful online content. And let's take Germany, for example. They have laws that define certain kind of illegal content that require social media network, those with more than 2 million followers, to set up reporting channels and to also remove illegal content within a period of time. And failure to do all the above or some of the above will result in some kind of fines and punishments, as they call it. And in Australia, just this year, they set some safety expectations. They will allow online safety regulators to actually take down the violent content, and some of them includes like child sexual abuse content as well.
I can imagine that there are challenges, sensitivities, surrounding this particular area. So when finalizing these codes, fine-tuning these codes, what are some of the suggestions that you are hearing from experts out there?
Actually, now there are a set of community standards for every social media platform. So we regulate how users behave online, and also what kind of posts they are supposed to post, their content, that it cannot have any kind of violent or sexual information. So what the experts have been telling me is that the public consultation perhaps should define more clearly what are considered sexual, violent and self-harm content, and how they are classified is important, because this will impact or affect how enforcement is carried out. And to tackle the online harms, one experts actually say that there are different kinds of reporting mechanisms, and it should be guided by three main principles: that they should be accessible, they must be easily spotted, and also that it must be available all the time. And it will help also across the board if the social media platforms have some kind of standardized ways of how people can report this kind of content, and people so that they don't have to learn different kind of reporting mechanisms over different platforms.
If these system-wide processes can be more uniform or homogeneous across different online platforms, it will actually enhance the ease for users who don't have to learn different habits or acquire different practices when they use different platforms.
Well, that's not the end of the discussion, because we'll have more from Dr. Soon a little later in the bulletin on tonight's top story. Meanwhile, Rebecca Mateo, thank you so much for coming on board and telling us a bit more about these codes.